The great thing about San Pedro, there was always music playing. There was always music, Bob Marley, a bit of Def Leppard, a bit of something. There was always something going on. So on the way down to Taft's, I decided I would stop at B&C's, Bruce and Charlene's bar, for a Coke. And it was actually quite packed. The bar wasn't big. The bar was probably 15 foot by 15 foot. A nice little square bar with a little roof over it on the beach. Charlene, as I say, was a local girl. Lovely, lovely girl. Little Belizean girl. And Bruce was an Australian guy. And Bruce was a NAUI instructor, which was the Australian version of PADI, or underwater divers. National Association of Underwater Instructors, I think it stands for. Bruce is a lovely guy. Typical beach bum. Long hair. A little bit chubby, wore shorts, no top, bare feet, as brown as a berry, and quick-witted, but a really, really nice guy. And I hadn't spoke to Bruce very much, and I just stopped at the bar and I ordered a Coke. And again, everybody knew Dave, and Bruce was all, "G'day, you're Dave's cousin," and I was like, yeah, just chatting away. And he goes, "How do you like San Pedro? What do you think? Have you had any hassles yet?" You know what I mean? And I didn't really say too much about the hassles or Patojo or anything like that. That was the type of stuff I kept to myself. I told him it was great, you know what I mean? Told him I'd never seen anything like it. Obviously Bruce came from Queensland, I think, as far as I know, and he was used to the beach and the surfing, scuba diving, the backpacking, the walkabouts, all that type of stuff, And back then Bruce would have been in his late 20s, mid 30s, mid to late 30s. A really, really cool guy. So him and I sat chatting, and of course other people, started listening in and joining the conversations and giving their little analogies on Dave and all this type of stuff. And it was great. It was great to hear other people speak so kindly about Dave, because it just hammered home to me how kind of a person Dave was and how big his heart was. And he was always given to people, and he was given to people less fortunate. Dave would have given you the proverbial shirt off his back. I seen him once in Belize City. There was a guy had no shoes, and his shoes were cut, and Dave asked him what size his shoes were, and I think it was like a size 9, and Dave took his trainers off and gave them to him. Brand new fucking set of trainers that he'd had probably for like a couple of days. Took his shoes off and gave them to the guy. You know what I mean? And all these other tourists are just standing around and shooing the guy away, you know what I mean, and this type of stuff. And Dave, he put his hand in his money in his pocket, and he pulled out a chunk of money, I don't know, a couple of $100 Belize, and Dave just fucking put it in the guy's hand and says, "Look, you're probably going to drink it," he goes, "but buy some food." And the fucking guy asked Dave could he give him a hug. Dave gave the guy a hug, you know what I mean, and the little fella started crying, and Dave says, "Look, listen, just take care of yourself," that type of way. And Dave didn't do that for the likes, or fucking pats on the back or handshakes or "well done, Dave." Dave did it because he cared for people. Dave loved people, you know what I mean. Dave didn't come from a great fucking stable family either. Dave came from quite a disruptive family, and he left at 16 to join the military to get out of it, you know what I mean. And along the way he became a man, and he became like a good humanitarian. So I watched Dave give the guy shoes, and then just go fucking off and buy a cheap pair of Jesus Creepers pair of sandals, and fucking make do with them till I got home. And he just always said to me, "Colin, he says, never look down on anybody," he says, "unless you're helping them up, unless you're extending your hand to help them up." He says, "Never look down on anybody," he says, "because you don't know what they've gone through." You know what I mean? And that always sat in my mind. That was something that I carried with me, throughout my life for a long, long time. Never look down on anybody unless you're extending a hand to help them up. And that was David. That was him all over. So it was great to sit with Bruce, to get to know him a little bit. He was a very open guy. Didn't matter what you asked him. Bruce would always give you an answer, and it would be a witty one. you know, and sometimes you didn't know if Bruce was fucking telling porkies, you know, or being honest, because he would just smile at you when he spoke, you know what I mean? So he kind of left you to figure it out for himself. But I later came, you know, to understand that Bruce was extremely honest, you know. He didn't take life seriously. He wasn't one of these guys who liked serious conversations, you know what I mean? Bruce loved his scuba diving, he loved his drink, you know what I mean? He loved Charlene, he loved San Pedro, you know, he loved that lifestyle. And, you know, he left Australia to get away from the bullshit as well. You know, we all had emotional baggage down there. Anybody that went to that island to live in the island, we all had emotional baggage, you know, and we all carried something with us. And they say that hurt people find and hurt other people, you know. That wasn't true of David or Bruce. You know, David was, he found other hurt people, but he did his best to try and help heal them, you know. His heart was amazingly huge. Bruce was a fucking, he was like a box of frogs and acid. Bruce was just like the ever ready bunny, you know what I mean? He was a great guy, and you know, always a good laugh. I spent a couple of hours at B&C's chatting, joking, you know, and just, you know, getting to know like loads of people and stuff like that. Yeah, it was just, the atmosphere was brilliant. Each bar that you went to, or each cafe that you went to on San Pedro had its own, you know, had its own atmosphere, because it always had the same people going there all the time, you know. They very rarely frequented other bars. They would like Bruce and Charlene's because it was Bruce and Charlene and it was open aired, you know, and it might have been the first place that they went to when they got on the island. They might have been staying at the little hotel beside it, and they just gravitated to Bruce and Charlene. So they had their own little entourage, you know what I mean? So everything had its own atmosphere, and it was just brilliant to see that. I didn't like to stay at the one place all the time. I like to move around and, you know, go down and just meet other people and listen and try and scavenge divers, basically, and recruit other divers. So, yeah, that was that day. It just went in as any other day because of the rains. There was no diving, so there was plenty of free time. The next morning, got up as usual. I showered, shaved. I didn't have a beard or moustache or anything back then, so just showered and shaved, and then headed down to Dave's to begin the day with the new recruits coming in to get everybody in the water and go over their skills, which just went perfectly well. So they came at 8 in the morning. We were down on the dock by 8:30. We were in the water by 9. We were out of the water probably, I would say, around 11, and then their first dive, they were going to do 2 dives that afternoon, so their first dive was going to be around 12 o'clock. They would come back in, they would take an hour break, and then they would go out again, and they would do the second dive probably around 2 o'clock, being by 3, half 3. Depending on how far they went to which dive site they went to, because there probably was 30 or 40 local dive sites, which every one of them was just brilliant. Everyone was just had something different than the others. Belize was blue water diving, which meant that the water was just blue, but it was, you know, it went from 0 feet down to probably 60, and it was all sand, and then it had finger canyons. So you could go and dive down in through the canyons, these little walls, you know, so you would be basically diving down. Some of them had little swim-throughs. Some of them had like a little hole in the ground where you could basically go down through like a little hole and then dive down through almost these little caves that would just really open up in the light, and you could see at the end of them, and you would swim through them and you would see the sea fans and the corals and everything. It was absolutely fantastic. It was a brilliant place, and it was all clear water diving. But obviously when it rained, rain being, you know, fresh water, would sometimes drop down through, and you would have like a blur, and sometimes the visibility, you know, could be a little shitty. So you know, the local guys would gauge that, and you know, they would wait for the afternoon, and hopefully the waters would clear a little bit. And that was great. It was really, really good. So I spent that day in the water, the morning in the water, refreshing everybody. Everybody was really good. The schools were great. It was good fun. There was absolutely no dramas with anyone, and yeah, it was brilliant. A brilliant day. And the next couple of days for me was kind of like that, just teaching divers, classroom work, getting my skills as a teacher, as an instructor, honed up, and meeting new people, and just having a blast.